We asked our communities, and this is what they had to say.
Generational wealth to me is setting up a safety net for the future, not only for yourself, but for the generations to come. To not have the future generations, maybe in your own family, to have to go through the same trials that you had to go through. Maybe if you went through something hard when you were younger, maybe being poor, being middle class, or not having the money to have access to the things that other people around you do. It's setting up that safety net so that not only you, maybe later in your life, but also your kids, their kids, can end up having the luxuries that you would have wanted when you were young.
This campaign to create awareness to generational wealth is brought to you by the Department of Neighborhood's Generational Wealth Initiative, the Washington Housing Finance Commission, and Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Create your generational wealth for you and the future of your families.
Hey y'all, it's Traffic Jam with Kareem.
Thursday at 4 p.m.
Hey, Traffic Jam. Rainier Avenue Radio. Download the app so you don't miss out what's popping, what's cracking, what's shining. It's your boy, Dream the Dream, on another beautiful week on here on Traffic Jam in Seattle. I hope you guys doing what you're supposed to do, being supposed to be. I got a good show for y'all. A lot to talk about. You know, Kareem the Dream, keep up with everything.
Get your entertainment news with Kareem on the Traffic Jam Thursday at 4 p.m.
Totally bored? Mindlessly scrolling? Put down your phone and pick up a free youth transit pass. Youth 18 and younger ride for free. Go all the places. Do all the things. Escape the scroll at freeyouthtransitpass.com.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at RainierAvenueRadio.world.
I don't know what I was thinking walking out here without a sweater. You know what I was thinking? My son made fun of my fleece this morning. Beautiful yellow. It was very warm. And anyway, Seattle City Council debate position number 8 at 6 p.m. And this Thursday high school football game of the week is O'Day coming in at number 1 and Ballard at 7 p.m. Okay, O'Day, I be seeing them riding their buses out there to go practice. So good job for them. And then next Tuesday, the 21st, King County executive debate at 5 p.m. right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. There is no reason why you should not be informed when we have so much stuff going on here at Rainier Avenue Radio. That's what I love about you guys here, Tony, is that he always makes sure that everyone in our community is informed and know what's going on and given the opportunity to not only know what's going on, but give an opportunity to come in and get your voice heard. So tune in tonight at 6 p.m. for the position number 8 debate, and also next Thursday for the executive debate at 5 p.m. And don't forget to support our boys this Thursday, 7 p.m. Rainier Avenue Radio. And don't forget to stop by Clean Greens and pick up your fresh organic bag of produce this week. We are coming towards the end of our season, so make sure that you are getting that fresh organic produce. Okay, now it is time to have our special guest on. I'm super excited to have her on. I'm so happy she said yes. We have today Ashley McGirt-Adair from Washington Therapy Fund to come in here and talk about all the things that she has going on there and to discuss her new book that is coming out. So if you guys could just welcome in, we're doing this online today. So Ashley, we're all clapping for you as you come on the screen in our heads.
Hi. Thank you so much.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Super happy to be here.
Thank you. Now, we've mentioned the Washington Therapy Fund thousands of times here on Clean Greens for people to be connected. Can you just let people know from your mouth what is the Washington Therapy Fund, and what are the resources there?
Yeah, absolutely. And quick little edit. So we dropped the WA. It's actually Therapy Fund Foundation because we're expanding across the nation. So while we were birthed in Washington as a Washington native, that's where we started. But we have a pilot project that we're doing in California, and we've done different things all across the nation, from Georgia, New York. We just got back from North Carolina doing some more things. But essentially what the Therapy Fund Foundation is it's an organization dedicated toward eliminating barriers to healing within Black communities. And so we look at every aspect that is a barrier when it comes to us as Black folks being able to receive the healing that we needed. People know us most for our free therapy fund, especially since it's in the name, Therapy Fund Foundation, but we also have a scholarship fund to increase the number of Black clinicians in the field. We're giving away $60,000 this year, which is our largest scholarship to date. So if you know anyone who's studying to be a clinician, we want to really support y'all and remove that barrier. I know for me personally, it cost over $100,000 to obtain the degrees that I have in order to do this work. We also have a peer support program, youth healing, community safety workshops. We also host the only Black-led behavioral health conference on the entire Pacific Northwest, which is every July during BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. We do a ton of different things, but any barrier that you see when it comes to our wellness, we're most likely tackling that and working to advance health equity.
I love it. I love to see it. And I love the resources that's being out there to our community. Can you walk us through like what was the why in starting this therapy fund?
Yeah, so the why really goes back to why I do this work, which is my grandmother. She raised me at a time when our community was being attacked. And by that I mean the Black community, just, intentionally placed with liquor stores on every corner, the crack epidemic, all of the things that we were plagued with during the time where she was trying to actually enjoy her retirement, but ended up having to raise her grandbabies. And so I think about her life, the life that she led, and also her death, which came way too early. And so I in turn became a clinician because I often wonder, if my grandmother had sound mental health services, would she still be alive today? She died from a stroke, and the leading cause of stroke is stress. So fast forward, I've been practicing as a clinician for over a decade, and I got into this field to serve my community. And so many Black people, once they found me, they could not afford my services. I didn't take Medicaid. It was just a long process, low reimbursement rates. It was such a challenge. Then the pandemic happened. Everybody was grieving something. We had lost something, and everybody was calling on mental health professionals to provide their services for free. And I wanted to come up with a way where clinicians could be paid for our work so that we're not burned out. This is also a business at the end of the day, and we need to be able to maintain operations. So I wanted to ensure that clinicians were paid well. And so thus the Therapy Fund Foundation was birthed in an effort to really ensure that community got the healing that they needed, and also therapists like myself were compensated and have the support that they need, because we also have monthly support groups for our therapists, supervision. We provide different trainings like EMDR, brain spotting, IFS. So we'll help with the cost of that, because all of these trainings can be very, very costly. So that's kind of the long, short story of how the Therapy Fund Foundation came to be.
I love that. And I went to your conference this past year, earlier this year, and it was amazing. And I love how you guys, not only you guys giving this resources to everybody, but you're also giving your therapists opportunities to get school credit, your therapist opportunity to learn from other people. And one thing that I don't think people realize is that, yes, we do this work, but and I'm not a therapist, but I'm talking about even us in this community. We do this work, but therapists need therapists. We need someone, you guys need someone to talk to. So the fact that you have that circle where you guys can come together and talk about the issues that happens behind the scene, because people sometimes forget helpers are people too that go through things. So I love that you have that resource for them. And with the climate that is happening in this world, with what's happening, and we're not going to talk politics, but I'm just saying, what's happening in the White House and happening in our streets, Can you explain exactly, because people don't get what racial trauma is and how that affects the way that we live and our decision making? Can you explain that to the folks that are listening out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And politics is in everything. I know we try to get away from it, but I'm like, therapy is political. Every aspect
Yeah,
of our
life
life
is political.
is really draped in it. So as much as we try to get away from it, but speaking of racial trauma, it really refers to the psychological and emotional harm that is caused by instances of racism, whether it's real or perceived. And I say that because oftentimes we experience things and then we second guess ourselves and question, did this happen because I'm Black? Did this happen because the way my hair is? Did it happen because the way that I'm dressed? So oftentimes we experience things like that and we don't necessarily know if it's the cause, but whether it's the cause or not, it's still racialized trauma. It's a result of systemic oppression, microaggressions, macroaggressions. I'm a little bit biased. I don't really believe in microaggressions. To me personally, they're all macro. They all cause pain. They all impact how we show up in this world. Racial trauma can also be things that we didn't necessarily experience ourselves, but we saw it through what's called vicarious trauma or secondary trauma, meaning I saw it on television or I heard about it on the radio, on a podcast, or just in passing, and it still impacted me because I see myself in those individuals. So for instance, I don't know George Floyd, but he could be my brother. He could be my cousin. So all of these things impact us and they cause hypervigilance, chronic fear, chronic stress, anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances, intrusive thoughts, feelings of shame, anger, helplessness. Oftentimes we may become avoidant if something happened to us. Maybe we experienced an instance of racism at a grocery store. So we avoid going to the local Fred Meyer where it happened and we want to pivot. Or, I mean, look at places like Target where we're boycotting them. They didn't hold up their end of the bargain. So we may want to avoid certain areas because of what happened. Or if we saw some sort of harm. I remember during the pandemic, there was a Black man who had a mask on and they called the police on him because he had a mask at a time when we were all supposed to be wearing masks. And he was criminalized and supposed to be exposing himself to a virus that we didn't know much about during the time when the police were called on him, and he was just trying to protect himself and protect his family. And so hearing about that, then we as Black folks, people of color, also may be scared and have a fear about going into that specific Walmart or store in general because we fear the police may be called on us. So while it didn't happen to us, we heard about it, we watched the experiences, and now we're extra vigilant because we want to protect ourselves and protect our families while also protecting our bodies in a situation like a global pandemic when that situation happened.
Yeah, I kind of remember I don't remember that story specifically, but I do remember like a lot of us was like, can you imagine us walking in a store with a mask on and all this stuff? So that, I feel like that affected our community a lot. What are some self-care practices that people can do who are dealing with racial trauma or any trauma that they're dealing with? We know that you have your therapy fund, but until they get connected with you and get in, what are some self-care practices that they could be doing? On it doesn't have to be a list of things, maybe like a few things.
Absolutely. So the way that I fight back against systemic oppression, racism, prejudice, bigotry is joy, experiencing as much Black joy as possible. So doing the thing that lights your spirit. It doesn't have to cost much. It can be free, whether it's just going outside, barefoot, grounding your feet on this earth and really centering yourself, experiencing the sun when we have the sun out, things like that. Or even if it's just dancing in the rain, listening to music, but something that is important for you, spending time with self. Oftentimes when we look at self-care, we're looking at like, oh, I'm gonna get my hair done, I'm getting my nails done. I'm like, that's just basic hygiene. Unless that really truly brings you joy. For me, you see, I got these braids in, it was a long process. It was not a joyful experience for me. So I don't count that as, self-care. It's basic hygiene. But yeah, so I would say just whatever it is to you, because you may be the opposite of me where you love going to the hair salon, talking, doing all that. Me, I want to quiet. No. But yeah, so just finding out when does your body light up? When does your body respond and feel good and do that thing that brings you joy?
Thank you. I love how, oh my God. Oh, when you mentioned going outside, I just seen this thing on IG where this girl was like, she was showing all the different comments. She's a Black girl. And people were like, were you raised white? Are you white? Or da-da-da-da. Because she was out in nature hiking.
I saw that.
And I was cracking up.
I'm a hiker. And people be like, oh, you was definitely raised around white people. And I'm like, but why? Don't take that experience from us.
Because it is us. This is what I love about what I do in the garden, is that when we're in the garden, we're connecting back to earth. And that is a part of us and our heritage. And so I love how you mentioned like getting out, getting in the air. And it's not just for our white friends and families. It is for us as well to get back and get connected. Enjoy. I love that. Like, I don't know. I don't want to put you on a spot, but can you, you may have your version. We all have our different versions of what is the difference between joy and happiness? Because I feel like there's a difference, but can you explain to the people if there's a difference, or if you think there's a difference between joy and happiness?
Yeah, well, with joy, you are happy oftentimes. So the two go hand in hand. But I feel like joy is political. So when we're talking about politics, it's a radical act of self-care, of really doing the thing out loud that brings you utter happiness. We can be happy, but not experiencing joy. Mm-hmm. I think oftentimes, we celebrate others or we celebrate this and we're happy, but is that sheer joy? It may not be to the extent of that. So I would say that's where the difference is when your whole inner being lights up and you just exude joyfulness. And I think it's so important for us to experience all of it and ask yourself, I think Malcolm X said it, who taught you to hate yourself? So who taught you to say that is a white people thing? Who taught you to say we can't experience joy or happiness or laughter?
Nice. Okay, well, speaking of joy, you have a book coming out. Let's talk about your book. Can you tell us what this book is about, and when is it coming out?
Absolutely. So my book is called The Cost of Healing in Silence, Navigating Racial Trauma and the Call for Culturally Responsive Care. And essentially, it's a guiding light for those who have experienced racial trauma, and also a call for mental health professionals to practice from a culturally responsive lens. Growing up in Burien, at a time when I lost my grandmother, there were no Black clinicians available. There was no culturally responsive clinicians available. So I ended up teaching my white therapist at the time, who was supposed to be helping me process the loss of my grandmother, race relations at 9 years old. So she didn't have any idea about the role of grandmother in Black families or Black life in America. And I spent my time educating her instead of getting the healing and the help that I needed. So essentially, this book is a call of action to heal out loud, and also for us to find ways to heal out loud, whether you are a medical professional, a licensed therapist, or just a community member who really wants to move from silence, being in the dark shadows. Oftentimes, we work on things in solidarity on our own, just trying to, get through it, power through. We're resilient beings, but oftentimes that comes at a cost. And so I really want us to move from the shadows, and really, really, truly heal out loud and reclaim our birthright of wellness. And so that's what my book is about. And I tell it through the lens of my grandmother's life, who I talked about earlier, who died way too early. And I look at the systems that were in place when she passed. So my grandmother was living in Tacoma on the hilltop in the 90s. I was just there not too long ago. And where there was crack houses, now there's high rises. And where there were liquor stores, now there's community centers. And I wonder how my grandmother's life would have differed had those things have been in place during the 90s, when where she was at the end of her life. And also just how community is treated. So I was a hospice therapist, and I used to work in Skyway and Vashon Island, and I saw two different outcomes of life expectancies for the Black and brown folks I served in Skyway. And then when I would hop on that ferry and go over to Vashon Island, serving not predominantly, it was all white folks. I never had a person of color who was a hospice patient on Vashon Island, and they were well into their hundreds. Meanwhile, my hospice patients in Skyway were 50. My last hospice patient was actually a 23-year-old Black woman who died from a preventable illness. And I can really attribute it to systemic racism. And so that's what my book is about, and really a call of action so that we can live longer and live well.
Nice. I love how you mentioned all that. I always encourage people who, it doesn't make sense to me, but also because I'm in the community, I get it. And I know people if they're not affected by it, it doesn't make sense to them. So I always encourage people to get out in their community and see the difference. Like, people are not, like, I know when we talk about racial trauma, whether it's true or perceived, we're not crazy. There is a difference. When I worked in housing, I would go in the grocery store in the area that I worked, and the food would be just disgusting. Like, the produce would be just horrible. But I would go in a predominantly white neighborhood, and the produce would be just beautiful, like right out of the movie, farm fresh produce. And so when you mention that 23-year-old and preventable illness, that breaks my heart. But it also makes me happy that there are people like yourselves in the organization I work for that are here to help our communities learn better and do better mentally, physically, and spiritually with their health. What was it like for you going back to your grandmother's house? And just because, I'm sorry, I mean, we talked a little bit, I don't know if you remember, and you were sharing with me, and I don't know, it just felt really good to hear that story from you, how you were able to go in the house. What was that feeling like?
Well, I wasn't able to go into the house. And so it was actually I don't know if I say traumatic. It was a very difficult situation. I haven't been back there since, gosh, I was like 8 years old. And also, when I think about my grandmother's life and that home being the last home that she lived in. So prior to that, my grandma had a very beautiful home. It actually was filmed in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. So that was the home that my grandmother lived in. But due to a lot of devastating issues, she ended up being in a small apartment complex in a low-income neighborhood at the end of her life. And so that's where I was most recently, and I saw a family. I was taking pictures of the neighborhood. Shouldn't have been there, but I was. And they knew I didn't belong. They were like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "My grandmother actually used to live there." And they were like, "Oh, wow, really? I can't believe you live there. Or your grandmother lived there. You want to come in and see?" So they invited me in. As soon as they opened the door, I saw a mirror of my own family. It literally looked like my family still in that home, the aunties, the uncles, the kids, all of these people packed into this small space. One of the little babies started running up to me and greeting me. And right when I crossed that threshold, I like almost passed out, and the grandma caught me. I just started crying, and she hugged me, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. It was just so overwhelming, and the amount of grief that came flooding me in that moment, especially since that was the place where my grandmother had her stroke, and she was found in that complex. And so she didn't pass there. She ultimately would pass in the hospital, but they found her passed out in that living room floor. So my body just got hot. I was overwhelmed. I felt bad for the family because I'm like, they were all happy, like, "Hey, I want to show you." And I see they remodeled it, put a little stainless steel in there, some faux fireplaces, but it's, not much different. And even looking at that family, I can tell they looked so much like mine and are probably experiencing a lot of the same things that my family went through during that time.
Wow. I just want to say, like, hearing you talk about your grandma, I almost cried because my grandmother also died of a stroke as well, very young. And I just doing this work, making sure that we are out here touching someone's heart and changing the trajectory of their lives. I just want to commend you and for the work that you do. And also just thank you on behalf of the community. I just think it's great work. It's needed. I know it's hard. I don't know for you, I don't want to speak for you, but for me to look back and be like, all these opportunities, all these resources, all this stuff here that our grandparents didn't have, but the things that I do as a love letter like you to your grandmother and to your lineage to make sure that our community gets healing, and that also I'm pretty sure you're getting a healing in this for yourself as you do this for your grandmother and your community. I know that you guys at Washington Therapy Fund, you guys are always making sure that there's ways to have resources. So I want to put that link up for the fundraiser. If you guys want to donate, if you want to donate to the Washington Therapy Fund, the link will be posted up there. And then also, is there anything else that you feel like I missed out that we should know about the Washington Therapy Fund? Or do you have anything else that's coming up? Also, you guys, pre-order the book. I am about to go pre-order mine because I can't wait to dive in that book. That book sounds so amazing, and I'm so excited for you. But yes, is there anything that you want to tell us that's coming up?
Yeah, so next month, I'm actually hosting a workshop on ACEs and racial trauma with Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, who's known for actually advancing ACEs, which is adverse childhood experiences, which when we look at how high our ACE score is, if you have an ACE score of 6 or higher, your mortality rates are decreased by 20 years. And most of us in Black communities have high ACE scores. So we know that information. What can we do about it? And so part of my work is what I'm doing at the Therapy Fund Foundation by getting us access to wellness, to sound therapeutic services. And so we're going to have a conversation around that and also look at where does the ACE questionnaire actually fall short when we do look at things like racial trauma, because those aren't any of the questions that are actually asked. It's 10 questions that ask, like, did you grow up in a household with parents who were divorced or incarcerated, where abuse was happening, physical, emotional, different things like that, but it doesn't ask any questions specifically to race-related stress. And so we're going to have a conversation about that, free for everybody to attend, November 18th. We also have our it's kind of like that, our holiday celebration party, which is going to be December 2nd on Giving Tuesday. That's going to be at Bird Bar Place in Seattle. So all are welcome. We would love for y'all to come out and attend.
Nice. Okay, you guys go follow Therapy Fund on IG. Are you guys on Facebook?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the places.
Okay, go follow them, stay updated. I'm definitely coming to those events because I am excited to learn more about how I can better serve our community. And I just want to thank you for all that you do. And thank you for joining our show. All right, guys, that is it. Until next week. See you later.